Hey there. If you've ever tried to host your own maps, with your own data, your own branding, you also know how tangled and complex map engines can get. Well, today, we're going to dig into TileServer-GL. It's this fantastic open source tool that's designed to get you from, well, zero to a fully custom map server, and you'll be surprised how fast it is. So let's jump right in. All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about why you'd even need your own map server in the first place. Then we'll do a quick start with TileServer-GL. After that, and this is the fun part, we'll get into its super powerful configuration file, learn how to tweak performance, and then wrap it all up by showing you how to make your map exactly your way.
So, first up, the map server problem. Seriously, why bother with your own map engine? It really all comes down to a core challenge that tools like TileServer-GL were literally built to solve.
I mean, have you ever been in the middle of building an app or a website and just thought, man, I wish I could control every single pixel of this map? Maybe you wanted to overlay your own secret data, or slap your company's branding all over it, or just host the whole thing on your own servers. That exact feeling, that need for control, that's where this journey begins.
And the magic behind all this is something called a MBTiles server. The easiest way to think about it is like a specialized web server. But instead of sending you a web page, it takes your map data and slices it into this grid of tiny little images or data chunks we call tiles. Your browser or app then just asks for the tiles it needs for the part of the map you're looking at and stitches them all together, kind of like a puzzle, to create that seamless map you see.
And that brings us right to TileServer-GL. Honestly, its biggest selling point is just how fast you can get going. This isn't some weekend project. We are talking about being up and running in a matter of minutes. No joke.
Assuming you have Node.js, it's literally two commands. First, you install the package globally. Second, you just run the server and point it at your map data. In this case, it's an MBTiles file, which is just a handy format for bundling up all your map tiles into one file. And that's it. You've got a basic map server running on your machine.
Now, before we go any further, you've got a choice to make. The main TileServer-GL package, that's the powerhouse. It's got everything, including server-side rendering, which means it can create those image tiles on the fly. It does need a few other things installed to work, though. But if all you're doing is serving up vector data and you don't need the server to create images, there's TileServer-GL Lite. It's pure JavaScript, which means it's even easier to install and will run pretty much anywhere.
Running the server from the command line is great for a quick test drive, for sure. But the real power, the secret sauce, is in the configuration file. So let's take a look at the anatomy of config.json. This is where you get to be the boss.
And you don't have to take my word for it. The official documentation says it perfectly. The configuration file defines the behavior of the application. It's not some optional extra. Every cool feature, every advanced customization, it all starts right here in this one file.
When you crack it open, you'll see it's basically broken down into three main sections. You've got options, which is like the main control panel for the whole server. Then there's styles, which, you guessed it, defines how your maps look. And finally, data, which tells the server where to go find your actual map data files.
Here's a great way to think about it. The options object is the server's brain, making all the big decisions. And nested inside of that, there's a property called paths, which is basically its address book. It tells the brain exactly where to find all the different files it needs to do its job.
And this address book is super organized. The paths object has specific entries for everything, a root directory for all your stuff, and then separate folders for your fonts, your icon sprites, your map styles, and of course, your MBTiles data. This whole structure is what keeps your projects tidy and predictable.
This really gets to the heart of how it all works. Your data section points to the raw geographic info, the what and where. Your style section points to the visual rules, the how it looks, like making roads gray and parks green. A style file points to a data source, and TileServer-GL puts them together to render the final map. They're a team.
Okay, so now that we understand the basic structure, let's put it to work. We can use this config file to solve some really common mapping headaches and to squeeze every last drop of performance out of our server.
You've seen this. It's so annoying. You design this beautiful map, you zoom in, and a street name or a city label gets chopped right in half at the edge of a tile. It just looks sloppy, and it's a dead giveaway that you're looking at a tiled map.
Well, check out this elegant solution. Right in your config file, there's an option called Tile Margin. It tells the server, hey, before you send that tile, render a slightly bigger area around it and then crop it down to the right size. That extra space, that buffer, gives the labels room to breathe so they don't get cut off. Yeah, it has a tiny performance cost, but for crisp, professional-looking labels, so worth it.
And what about performance? TileServer-GL uses a pool of renderers to create tiles. With the min and max renderer pool sizes options, you can tune this pool. The more renderers you have ready to go, the faster your server can respond, but the more memory it uses. It's a classic balancing act, and these options basically give you the dial to tune the server perfectly for whatever machine you're running it on.
And the control just keeps going. You can add a watermark for branding. You can enable serve static maps to generate plain image files of your map, which is great for reports or emails. You can even add static attribution text for copyright notices on those static images. The config file is just packed with these handy little switches.
Okay, let's bring it all home. This is all about your map, your way. Let's just quickly recap the new superpower you've basically just unlocked.
So, what are the big takeaways here? First, you can start crazy fast with just one command. Second, that config.json file, that's your command center for everything. Third, you can fine-tune it all, from performance to tiny visual details. And most importantly, you can connect your own styles to your own data. The bottom line is this: you now have the power to serve up any map you can dream of, exactly how you want it to look and behave.
So you've seen how it's built and you know how to take the wheel. The controls are officially in your hands. So the only question left is, what world are you going to map? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.